Hi everyone, in this KYC demo I want to show you how individual risk scores can be calculated for your customers, products and transactions, but also how these separate scorecards can be put together into a combined risk score. I will show several screens starting with the separate scorecards. Note that we made a distinction between private and corporate customers and that they both have their own scorecard. The reason for this is that both customer types have distinct indicators to calculate their risk. We start with our private customers. In the top grid, you can see the included risk indicators like country discrepancy. This will show yes if there is a difference between the country of origin and the country of residence of the customer. We are also interested if the customer has a legal history, if he or she is a new customer, and if he or she is a PEP. Note that some indicators have a different color. This is to indicate that it is about AML indicators, like a score for the customer's occupation, country of origin, and country of residence. At the end of the table, we then have the private customer risk that is calculated by using all the indicators in this table and these weights right here. You can change these weights very easily according to your risk assessment. Like for example, when country discrepancy becomes more important, you can easily change this number from 5, for example, to 15. Then you can immediately see the impact of this on your private customer risk. The other table on the screen provides more customer information, like his or her first name, surname, occupation, and so on. This table is also filtered when a customer is selected from the top table and will then only show that customer's information. The graph on this screen is a visualization of the private customer risk per country. It shows the 20 largest countries that make up your private customer database and shows the average customer risk. The screen for the corporate customers is very similar to the one for private customers. The only difference is that other indicators are used for calculating the risk. We use, for example, indicators that focus on the UBO of a corporation. Also, the product scorecard has a similar layout as the two previous screens, and the same applies for the transaction scorecard. There are only two things that are different and specific for these screens. Product or transaction-related indicators can be found in the top table and are used for the calculation of the product risk and transaction risk respectively. For the graphs and the product, the pie chart shows all the product types that occur in your data. The portion of the pie represents the frequency of a certain product. When hovering above one, the product risk is shown. And then for transactions, each transaction type that occurs in your data is shown as a tile. The size of the tile represents the frequency and the color gradient stands for the transaction type's risk. So far, we have been looking to only one risk perspective at a time. In the next three screens, two risk perspectives will be analyzed together. On this first screen, we combine the average product and average customer risk for each product type. The reason for using the average risks comes from the fact that multiple customers can register for a certain product type, each of them having their own customer and product risk that influences the risk values on the level of a product type. The table below then shows all the customers that are registered for this certain product. Here, the average product risk and average transaction risk are visualized for every product type. Again, averages are used because multiple transactions from one or the same customer or different customers can occur for a certain product type. An interesting case could be mortgages. They have a quite low product risk but a high transaction risk. By selecting the bar, we can investigate why this is. In this case, we can see that a high transaction risk is caused by multiple high-risk transactions. The last two-dimensional view shows the average customer risk and average transaction risk for every customer segment. The reason to use average measures comes from the fact that multiple customers can belong to the same customer segment. When selecting a segment from the graph, the table will show more details of all transactions from all customers in this segment. It's also possible to dig deeper in your data by double-clicking on a bar, and then the graph will be filtered and will show the average transaction and average customer risk for all customers, in that customer segment. So far, we have been focusing on individual scorecards. Now we combine this information in a combined scorecard. The top table shows the individual risks for all customers together with the average and maximum combined risk. It's interesting to compare both risks because customers can register for multiple products or can conduct multiple transactions. These all have their own risk, which influences the customer's combined risk. Also here we have an area where the parameters can be changed. So for example, when a product risk becomes more important in the overall combined risk, you can change this number from 15 to, for example, 30. And then again, immediately see the impact of this on your combined customer risk. When a customer is selected from the table, the graph will show all the transactions of this customer and how the combined risk for each transaction is composed. In this screen, we combine our three risk perspectives in one graph: the customer risk on the horizontal axis, the product risk on the vertical axis, and the transaction risk is represented by the size of the bubble. Each bubble represents a customer, and this way this makes this a very handy tool to detect your problem customers. In other words, you are looking for customers that are located in this quadrant, like for example this one. When selecting one, more information is provided in the table below. To end this demo, I want to show you the role of time series analysis in this topic. It is possible that a customer's combined risk changes over time because he or she registers for a new product or conduct higher or lower risk transactions. This table shows a combined risk of all customers of the previous month and this month. A customer will be alerted when the difference between those two numbers is higher than 5. When you want to get a better insight in this customer's combined risk evolution, you can simply select a customer from the table, and the graph will show you this customer risk levels of the last couple of months. This was a short introduction to our KYC demo. I hope it was interesting, and if you have questions or want to have more information, please feel free to contact us.